formed from the elements forged in some distant and unknown star.
In the movie Lords of Dogtown, there's a scene where the skaters attempt to figure out how to ride the wall in an empty swimming pool. One by one, they try, but their attempts end up in failure. Suddenly, one of them does it, and after seeing him do it, the others quickly learn how to do it too. All it took was for one of them to see that it was possible. This scene illustrates an interesting lesson, that in order to change the world, you have to first change yourself. By developing yourself, you also expand the boundaries of what is possible. This principle works because our individual experiences form the collective unconscious of our species. This collective unconscious can be seen as a repository where all experiences of a particular species are stored. Ra refers to this as the deep mind. This is the mind that is behind the veil and consists of various levels of information. The mind can be visualized with various parts, each connected and each informing the conscious mind to some degree. The conscious mind is what you are consciously aware of in your day-to-day experiences. It is the stage where events play out. Going deeper beyond the veil is the deep mind. Here, we find first the subconscious, then the roots of the mind, which include the racial mind, planetary mind, the archetypal mind, and finally, the gateway to intelligent infinity. Recall that the spirit complex is a channel whereby, as Ra says, the inpourings from all the various universal, planetary, and personal inpourings may be funneled into the roots of consciousness, and whereby consciousness may be funneled to the gateway of intelligent infinity through the balanced intelligent energy of body and mind. Our conscious mind is constantly receiving impressions from the deep mind. Concepts are constantly moving between the veil and inspiring our conscious thoughts and actions. And we are constantly adding to the great repository stored in the planetary and cosmic mind, which has an effect on others. Any thought you've had, any idea you've come to, exists somewhere else. You merely channel them into your present time period, and also give back your own experiences. As the master alchemist Focanili put it, what we believe we have ourselves discovered by an effort of our intelligence exists already elsewhere. This concept is illustrated very well in the catalyst of the spirit, or the star. In the catalyst of the spirit, we see a nude woman pouring water onto a blossoming flower and subsequently pouring water back into the deep ocean. This can be seen as a representation of the role that catalyst plays for the spirit complex. The nude woman uses intelligent energy, represented by the water, to provide the fertile ground necessary for her full potential to be realized. At the same time, she also gives back to the ocean the fruit of her endeavors. This is analogous to the role of the spirit, acting as a shuttle. An entity called Quanta, channeled by Carla of the Alala Research Group, says, "Each entity which gathers experience that is significant in the personal evolution records its experience in its own conscious and subconscious mind complex. Each mind complex has access to greater and greater stores of information, as the roots of the individual mind complex contain all that which has been gathered by the entity in all conscious experience, and continues to move in an harmonic fashion with those of, you would say, like mind, or in many cases, the racial mind, in other cases, the cultural mind, and in still other cases, the unique groupings of mind that blend various factors, be they social and culture, philosophical or spiritual, and religious or racial or geographical. The roots of the deep mind exert a great deal of influence on the world. This is why there has been a great effort spent on controlling your access to the deep mind and keeping its resources hidden from you. What has been dubbed the Matrix control system is the simulacrum of reality which attempts to impose a lower vibration on the world, trapping those in its grasp in a type of hypnosis. And because we also give back to the collective the fruits of our works, we have the ability to either reinforce the matrix or to break free from it. Koel mentions, There is a point of balance, a fulcrum, which you may see created by your efforts to visualize peace and healing. This fulcrum is within the mass mind or the planetary mind of the population of this planet. Thoughts are real, as all exist somewhere, regardless of whether it is physically manifested or not, and what you put into the planetary mind has an effect on everyone. Like the woman depicted in the Catalyst of the Spirit, you act as a channel, funneling the instreamings from the great ocean of the One into the physical world, and at the same time, the fruits of your work flow back into the collective, ultimately having an influence on everything. The balance of this fulcrum of the planetary mind is what helps prevent what would be otherwise much harsher catalysts from occurring on planet Earth. Kuo says, enough positive energy has begun to be gathered in the hearts of the planetary population of humankind upon planet Earth that the very likely polar shift that was expected before the end of your 20th century was averted. What is occurring now on your planet as it goes through the labor of planet Earth into force density is that delicate task of releasing the negative energy collected by this planet in ways that do not destroy the planet. And so, as we have said before, you can see the tsunamis, the earthquakes, the catastrophes that are terrible but not earth-shattering, and we mean that literally. As more people are informed and more people awaken, the less need there is for harsher catalysts, the more we can begin to align our planet with true reality. Using this concept of reciprocal influence, one can begin to understand how the collective influences us and how we, as individuals, have an influence on the collective. Wanderers have a particular role to play in all of this. A wanderer is an individual from a higher density who deliberately incarnates into a lower density. Generally, this is done almost exclusively by those of the service to others polarity. The purpose is to bring light into a place of darkness and to help liberate those stuck. They are called brothers and sisters of sorrow by Ra in the Law of One material, and this is because those who are of the service to others polarity have a deep sense of compassion and cannot help but be drawn to those who are suffering in order to be of service. If you are watching this video, you are very likely a wanderer. Since a wanderer has already graduated from the third density experience and has chosen to go back, they come with a more advanced skill set. This isn't to say that they are any better than one who is not a wanderer. It simply means that a wanderer has a greater potential to navigate the deep mind and to access intelligent infinity. This is due to previous study and abilities that they have taken with them into this density. As wanderers take on all of the characteristics of third density, including all of the shortcomings, they begin this life asleep like all third density inhabitants. Unless they consciously choose to remember who they are, they will likely stay asleep to some degree. Wanderers are no different than anyone else, except in this one aspect. They exhibit greater potential to do work. However, this potential can only be realized through the conscious effort by the wanderer. This is why it is very important to remember who you are and why you have come here. Work in this context refers to actions taken that have a significance on polarity. That is, actions that move the self towards service to others or service to self. The greater potential you have, the more impactful the fruits of your work will be. The fruits of your work feed back into the collective, expanding what is possible for all. It is important to note that this happens irregardless of how well known the fruit of your work is, for it is not what you do that matters so much as what you channel and allow to guide you. Do you channel the higher or the lower? Do you follow the subtle calling of spirit, clearing the way for the one to guide you? Or do you follow the lower self, blocking the light and making way for Typhon to reign supreme? A lot of individuals confuse service to others exclusively with doing something out there in the world. What you do in this life may be an important part of why you are here. However, true service to others is actually working on yourself. It is clearing out the rocks and the thorns that block the heart. It is balancing the lower so that the higher can have a stable platform from which to operate in this world. It is clearing a path for intelligent infinity to shine through. It is allowing the One Infinite to guide you. To become a channel for the One is the greatest service you can do because it has the greatest impact that ripples not only around the world, but across time. Its impact affects the roots of the planetary mind, of which all draw influence from. Ra explains, when the positive adept touches intelligent infinity from within, this is the most powerful of connections, for it is the connection of the whole mind-body-spirit complex microcosm with the macrocosm. This connection enables the, shall we say, green ray true color in time-space to manifest in your time-space. In green ray, thoughts are beings. In your illusion, this is normally not so. The adepts then become living channels for love and light and are able to channel this radiance directly into the planetary web of energy nexi. The ritual will always end by the grounding of this energy in praise and thanksgiving and the release of this energy into the planetary whole. The planetary web of energy nexi that Ra describes is a link. A link to what exactly? To answer that, we have to first understand what Ra means when they speak of an energy web. Ra uses this term in other passages. For example, picture, if you will, the One Infinite. You have no picture, thus the process begins. Love creating light, becoming love light, streams into the planetary sphere according to the electromagnetic web of points or nexi of entrance. They also state, the gate to intelligent infinity can only be opened when an understanding of the instreamings of intelligent energy are opened onto the healer. These are the so-called natural laws of your local space-time continuum and its web of electromagnetic sources or nexi of instreaming energy. An energy web is also mentioned by Ra when speaking about astrology. They state, as each planetary influence enters the energy web of your sphere, those upon the sphere are moved, much as the moon, which moves about your sphere, moves the waters upon your deeps. Your own nature is water, in that you, as a mind-body-spirit complex, are easily impressed and moved. Indeed, this is the very fiber and nature of your journey and vigil in this density, to not only be moved, but to instruct yourself as to the preferred manner of your movement in mind, body, and spirit. They also speak about this energy web existing in the microcosm around our bodies. Ra states, the activity of dreaming is an activity in which there is made a finely wrought and excellently fashioned bridge from conscious to unconscious. In this state, the various distortions which have occurred in the energy web of the body complex due to the misprecision with which energy influxes have been received are healed. It appears this energy web is a conglomeration of various energies which include various bodies and their corresponding influence. This web attracts to the entity those experiences which resonate with a particular pattern that is found within their energy web. At the same time, it repels other experiences likely due to the same pattern which either contains or is missing some key element. In the magical systems of the Order of the Golden Dawn, there is a ritual known as the Banishing and Invoking Ritual of the Pentagram. These rituals are performed by drawing 4 pentagrams in the air while chanting a resonating archangelic name corresponding to the cardinal direction the pentagram is facing. The ultimate purpose of this ritual is to strengthen the energy web of the individual. The banishing ritual is designed to prevent the attraction of unwanted energies, while the invoking ritual is designed to attract wanted energies. Some people who start performing these rituals have reported that their lives have become completely uprooted after some time. This is because whatever was in their life was no longer serving them, and by their will declaring all unwanted energies to be banished, the etheric body was responding in kind. Ra states, the physical complex alone is created of many, many energy or electromagnetic fields interacting due to intelligent energy. The mental configurations or distortions of each complex further adding fields of electromagnetic energy and distorting the physical complex patterns of energy. The spiritual aspect serving as a further complexity of fields, which is of itself perfect, but which can be realized in many distorted and unintegrated ways by the mind and body complexes of energy fields. Thus, instead of one, shall we say, magnet with one polarity, You have in the body, mind, and spirit complex one basic polarity expressed in what you would call violet ray energy, the sum of the energy fields, but which is affected by thoughts of all kinds generated by the mind complex, by distortions of the body complex, and by the numerous relationships between the microcosm, which is the entity, and the macrocosm in many forms, which you may represent by viewing the stars, as you call them, each with a contributing energy ray which enters the electromagnetic web of the entity due to its individual distortions. The nexi, or link Ra referred to, are related to the various energy centers, as these act as links for intelligent energy to plug into. Being incarnated as a human, wanderers have access to these nexi, and, if they choose to develop themselves and clear the blocks that prevent light from shining through, they can crystallize their energy nexi, allowing for love and light to be channeled directly into the energy web of the planet, thus helping make it available for all. This is an important and vital role to play. Do not be discouraged if you find your life lacking glory and prestige. These are transient things which have no meaning outside of here. What matters is working on yourself so that you receive energy and transmute it for all. As Quo says, it was your hope that you would be able, by awakening within the dream of physical life, to become a magical person, a person able to act as a crystal entity, receiving energy, transmuting energy, and setting energy out into the fourth density web of planet Earth. How can energy be transmuted and pulled into the energy web of the Earth? Recall that the one moves from the lower to the higher. As each energy center is crystallized, each block removed, the atoms can handle energy of a higher voltage or of a finer quality. One's consciousness is affected by this one energy called intelligent energy, which moves upwards and filters through the various energy centers. At the same time, one's choices on what to focus on affects how balanced the energy centers are. In other words, your thoughts are directly connected to your energy centers, and there is a symbiotic relationship between them. What you choose to focus on is what you eventually become. We move from allowing external experiences to guide our thoughts and reactions to being in control of what experiences we choose to bring into our lives. We move from the external to the internal. Thus, it is through your consciousness, acting as a window or portal, that the spirit complex, acting as a shuttle, allows you to move towards the one, and the one to come through, watering the roots of the deep mind. By doing this, you literally become a bridge, closing the gap between heaven and earth. As Quo says, you are those who stand as guardians and anchors of light, holding that bridge open, and by your vibrations and your thoughts, radiating the love and the light of the infinite creator with your own coloration out into the ambient atmosphere. You are an agent of infection. You are infecting people with the highest and the best of your love. You act as a bridge between the true reality of the divine and the false reality of the demiurge. Those who follow the demiurge and its minions seek to remove themselves completely from the divine. They seek to allow matter to rule over spirit. This is the purpose of their rituals, their fear frequency campaigns, and the massive attempt at suppressing your true nature. They seek to destroy the bridge that allows the divine to come through. As we move into the future, it is likely we will be facing even greater darkness and more serious testing than we have today. A key role of positive wanderers is to use their consciousness to transmute energy directly into the etheric body of the planet. This is how to truly be of service. It is imperative we do not succumb to the darkness being forced upon our planet at this time and in the future. We must remain as the living, as the embodiment of Christ, as the bridge, the way-showers, the healers. This is your function as a wanderer. It is why you are here. Quo says, it is a matter, more or less, of taking back the mind from those who would keep it distracted, polarized, and asleep. There is a great deal of effort spent on controlling your consciousness. As consciousness acts as a window to allow energy into this world, the negative side seeks to keep that window shut, while the positive side seeks to blast it wide open. In the channelings found in the Handbook to a New Paradigm, the author writes this about the intention of the negative forces seeking to destroy this bridge. It is with careful and focused intent that the reality of this earthly experience is being engineered into a pattern of downward movement into the darker and heavier energies that are at the lower end of the scale in which the human body can exist. This makes the contact between the extension, spirit and body, and its soul, focused source, more difficult. This allows for the possibility of the separation of the two energies. Intricate manipulations of this extension energy must be accomplished in order for this to be a possibility. The capture of this soul energy is for the purpose of causing a break in the chain of energies that extend from the matrix of the soul. It is the belief of those doing this that it will cause a breaking down of the positive energies that comprise the basic building blocks of creation. In other words, they perceive that causing a break in the return flow of this energy back to its source will cause a disruption in the larger combined pattern of the galactic matrix. The conception of this group of separatists is that a chain reaction will happen, allowing for chaos to such a degree that their focus can reorganize this chaos into their own matrix. The extension, or spirit, refers to the will of the individual, and the focus source, or soul, refers to the etheric and astral body involved in manifestation and attracting probability. In its natural state, the soul manifests the archetypal lessons thought up by the spirit for the self. However, to cause a break in this connection essentially means cutting off the influence of the spirit, keeping one in perpetual darkness. The intent of those of the negative polarity is to keep this timeline separated from the main track. To do that, they need the majority of the consciousness of the earth to exist in darker, heavier energies. Thus, the great fear campaigns we are seeing, which is an attempt to lower the frequency of the masses, as well as other methods of keeping you in a lower state of consciousness. Your role is to resist this. To do this, you must first know yourself. You must first balance the lower so that you can live in the higher more frequently. You must begin to have an understanding of intelligent energy and how it can be utilized to connect with intelligent infinity. And above all, you must have faith. Darker times are likely on the horizon, but you are prepared for this. This is why you are here. Remember that. History is full of inspiring examples of wanderers who did indeed act as a complete bridge between the divine and the earth. Let's look at one of them, known as Yeshua, the Christ. In Dolores Cannon's book, They Walk with Jesus, she writes about a number of her patients who, under trance, began to describe their experiences meeting Yeshua. Some of them had past lives living with him during his ministry. One woman describes her experiences meeting Yeshua outside a temple where she was teaching children. She writes, "It's as if he understands who I am, and that it does not need to be spoken to. It's as if he's being an example for the children, that his presence here, the time that he has spent with them in this moment, will stay with them all of their lives. That is his main purpose for coming over, for the children to have this experience of energy and bonding and being lifted up in this white light and being suspended out of time and space. The children will remember this always, even into other lifetimes." Later in the session, Dolores asks the patient, what does he think his purpose is? And she responds, he thinks he was sent here to be a teacher of life, a ray of life, to be an example of what humankind can be, and of the gifts humankind has, and that people can all do what he is trying to teach them. Yeshua, like the Buddha and many others before him and after, incarnated into a time of great darkness with the intention of showing the world what was possible, to show what being human actually means. One of Dolores' patients said, his destiny is to bring light in a greater way. This is the role of wanderers like you. Your destiny is to bring light in a greater way. Yeshua brought light into an area of great darkness, and by living his full potential, he helped illuminate possibilities that otherwise were hidden, possibilities which are still open to this day, 2,000 years later. Yeshua will not return to this earth. However, the energy that he channeled, the Christ, has returned, and it is through you that this energy will be used to transform the earth.